going to take two equations out in space, and we're going to find where those two equations are going to cross each other, and we're going to find that point of intersection. That point of intersection is what you will see me write on the board as a POI. Okay? So there are several processes to find the point of intersection. The one that we're going to utilize today is called linear elimination. It's a method used to find the intersection point of two lines in the same coordinate plane. Okay? The equations must be lined up with the x's and under the x's and the y's under the y's. So it has to look like this for you to use elimination. So as soon as you get your problems, you're going to say, are my x's over my x's plus my y's over my y's with my equals over my equals and my number over my number, or your constant. A and B are coefficients, and C is what we call our constant term. Your goal is to eliminate a variable by adding straight down, and the coefficients must be opposite of each other. What do I mean whenever I say they must be opposites of each other? I have to have a negative 2x and a positive 2x. I need to have a negative 10y with a positive 10y. That's what I mean whenever I say opposite coefficients. When we're talking coefficients, we're talking about the same letter coefficients, okay? Now, here's the steps that we're going to be utilizing to do linear elimination. You're going to make sure the variables are lined up. That's what I had just said. They have to be lined up appropriately. X's over x's, y's over y's. Then you're going to look to see if one of the pairs of the variables are automatically opposites. If it's 2x and negative 2x. If they are, you simply add straight down. What if they're not? Then you're going to eliminate with the variable with the smallest numbers. So if you have 2 and 3x, 2x and 3x, you're going to choose x's. If you have a 2x, 3x, and then a 7y and a 10y, you're going to choose x's. So whatever numbers are smaller, okay? And you're going to multiply the equation by the value needed to get the plus or minus the same number on each side. How do you do this? You multiply the top equation by the bottom equation's number, and you multiply the bottom equation by the top number's equation, okay? And I will show you that. Be sure the variable are opposite signs and add straight down. Solve for that variable, and then take that answer and plug it into the original equation, and this is your point of intersection. So it looks super confusing, but we're going to make it really easy. Now, there are three types of solutions that you can have. In space, your lines can cross at exactly one spot and look like this. So if they cross out in space in one spot, then you are going to have one point of intersection. That means you are going to have the set containing the point 3, negative 4. It'll look like number 1, okay? Number 2 is whenever you have two lines out in space, which they have different equations, but basically they are exactly the same line. This is what we call infinitely many solutions. And you will always get a true statement. You are going to get 0 equals 0, 5 equals 5, 10 equals 10. If you get a 0 equals 0, then that means they are exactly the same line, and your answer is the set containing x comma y. X comma y is going to be all the ordered pairs, such that is the colon, and then pick one of the equations. The third one is whenever you have two equations out in space, but they're like railroad tracks. They're parallel lines. They never cross. No matter what you do, they never cross in space. So that means that there is no point of intersection, and you are going to get a false statement like 0 is equal to 5. And that is the dead giveaway that it is going to be no solution. So let's go ahead and jump into this. And the very first thing we have is two equations. So the first thing your brain is going to say are my x's over my x's, my y's over my y's, and my numbers over my numbers. I have 3x over 2x, yes, 4y over 3y, yes, equals over equals, and a number over a number. So they are lined up. The next thing is we're going to look to see if we have any coefficients of my x's that are opposites. I have 3x and 2x, those are not opposites. And of my y's, 4y and 3y, those are not opposites. So now we're going to look at those and we're going to say which one is smaller. Are my x's smaller, being 2 and 3, or are my y's smaller, being 4 and 3? My x's are smaller, so that means we are going to eliminate x. So I'm going to take the top equation and I'm going to multiply it by the bottom coefficient, which is a 2. I'm going to take the bottom number and I'm going to multiply it by the top number. Okay? And when I do that, I need it to be the opposite of a positive. I need it to be a negative, so I'm going to multiply that by a negative number. And that's going to be -3. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and distribute this. 2 times 3 is 6x. 2 times 4 is 8y is equal to a 2. You must do it on every term. Now go to the bottom equation. Distribute -6x minus 9y is equal to -21. Now, you need to ask yourself, are my x's, y-x's, because that's what we said we were eliminating, are my x's the same number with opposite signs? I have a 6x and a -6x. The answer to that is yes. So all we're going to do is simply add straight down. Those cancel out. 8y minus 9y is -y is equal to -19. Solve for y dividing by -1, and you get y is equal to 19. So now that I know what y is, I'm going to go back to one of the original equations. I'm going to simply take the top equation. So that's 3x plus 4y is equal to 1. And I'm going to plug in y. So I have 3x plus 4 times 19 is equal to 1. And that's going to be 3x plus 4 times 19, that's a 36. Carry the 3, so that's going to be 76 is equal to 1. Subtract the 76. Come on. 3x is equal to -75. Divide by 3. And if you have 75 cents in your hand, you have 3 coins. That's going to give you -25. So your point of intersection out in space where these two lines cross is the ordered pair -25, +19. Okay? Let's do that again. So very first thing, are my x's lined up? 2x over x, y over y, equals over equals, and 6 over 9. So yes, they are lined up. So the next thing I'm going to look at is which one's smaller. Are my 2 and 6 smaller than my 3 and my 9? So I'm going to choose to eliminate my x's. So I need to get the opposite signs. I have a 6 here. Does 3 go into 6? And the answer to that is yes, it does. So what would I multiply 2 by to obtain a 6? Well, that answer is 3, but I need it to be the opposite sign. So I'm going to multiply it by a -3. So that gives me a -6x plus a 9y is equal to a -18. And I'm going to drop down the second equation. And the reason why I'm going to drop down this second equation is because they are already opposites. These are opposites. So if I add straight down, those cancel out, and I'm left with 0 on both of them is equal to -9. When does 0 equal -9? It's never equal to -9, so this is going to be a false answer. And whenever we talked about the 3 types of solutions, I said whenever you get a false answer that there was no solution and it was going to be parallel lines, which means this right here is simply no solution and your lines are parallel. Okay? Next, let's try it again. I have 2x and 3x, -1 and 4. Now, which one do you think would be easier, 2 and 3 or 1 and 4? Well, I'm going to go ahead and eliminate the y's this time because last time we did the x's both times. So I want to focus on my y's. Well, that's really nice that the y's are opposite. I have a -1 and a +4. That's super helpful. So since they're already opposite, I'm going to say, well, what am I going to multiply this top equation by to obtain the opposite of 4? The opposite of 4 is -4, so all I have to do is multiply this by a +4. That's going to give me an 8x minus 4y is equal to negative 4. And I'm going to drop down my second equation, and I'm going to add straight down. 11x is equal to 11. Divide by 11, solving for x, and x is equal to 1. So now that I found out what x is, I am simply going to plug back into my original equation. My original equation is 2x minus y is equal to negative 1. And I plug in what I know. X is 1. So I have 2 minus y is equal to negative 1. Subtract 2. Negative y is equal to negative 3. So divide by negative 1. Y is equal to positive 3. So my point of intersection is going to be 1, 3. Tonight's homework is 3-2, worksheet 1, solving systems of equations by elimination.